Playing.
Criminal activity around or on railroads isn't unheard of. Looters, train hoppers, tampering with railroad property, foamers stealing locomotive parts for internet collapse. Railroads are easy victims to crimes, and with such activities, the many railroads of America have their own dedicated police force to deal with these types of people. But a certain Western railroad in the 1980s and 90s thought of a bizarre way of employing its police force. The Southern Pacific instated its own police force as a part of its own operational departments, with their police services being set up similar to federal and state departments, with many special agents assigned to various divisions on the SP's network. One issue that the SP wanted to address was theft on board trains, specifically on Autorac trains around the Los Angeles and San Antonio area, as some Autorac trains in that division gained infamy for stopping in sightings around Colton and Yume, where thieves would break into the Autoracs to steal various car parts to resell for cash, or to use them as free Airbnbs. In an attempt to cut down on criminal activity, the Southern Pacific would begin to experiment with deploying special agents on the rails, with various pieces of rolling stock being modified to house the officers. The first one to talk about is SP number 250. This was a former baggage dorm car built for the Sunset Limited in the 50s. It was involved in a derailment in January 1971, resulting in the dorm car to be retired from service and later modified in 1981 to pilot the police project. The coach was already fitted with amenities such as heaters, showers, toilets, etc. Although it was modified with large bay windows, spotlights to look over carloads, and apparently space to store an ATV in, and deploy them down to chase thieves. Although, knowing how long it'd take to stop the train, open the baggage door, and get the ATVs down, it would all be for nothing. But why retrofit a passenger car with, all these police amenities? Well, it was because that a coach would be a lot more heavier, so that way they could throw it in the middle of consists, so that way they could sort of, be able to spot thieves easier. Not to mention coaches were more heavier compared to a caboose. The large coach was used once a week on Autorac trains around Southern California, usually assigned out of San Luis Obispo to Los Angeles, or Yuma down to San Antonio, housing SP police officers while riding the rails. Whenever the train was stopped in a siding, the spotlight would be on to spot any thieves and then deploy officers, with offenders being stuffed into the coach and then dropped off at the nearest police station. Although sometimes local police departments were brought in to assist if needed. So, based on that logic, it seemed like the police coach was a success. However, it would only last a few years in service, and any more conversions into police cars were canned, likely due to the rise of fully enclosed Autoracs which had been introduced in the late 80s, alongside the potential impracticality of putting the coach in between the train. While SP did shelve the idea of police coaches, it wasn't done with police rolling stock just yet. Around the time that the coach was retired, 3 C-50-9 Cabooses were refitted for use as railroad police cars, sporting a full white livery alongside the additional spotlights and air conditioning. They were employed on trains around the SP system, usually on trains that sported high-priced goods. And these cabooses often housed railroad officers as they monitored the train while it was in motion. But even these didn't last much longer due to changing theft patterns, improved security around railroad facilities, and most importantly, the decline of cabooses. As a result of massive cost cutting, and in attempts to reduce the amount of crew members per train, cabooses were being phased out around the 80s and 90s, being replaced by the ever-recognizable EOT, or end of train device. Many of the SP's cabooses were phased out around the 1990s, with a handful surviving into the days of Union Pacific, usually on the odd locals or as shoving platforms. But what about the police cabooses? Well, the three known examples did survive in some capacity. 4709 was last spotted on the Union Pacific on local service. 4762 is apparently owned by Pacific Rail Industries out in Colton, while 4766 was last known to be converted into a mini house for a TV show. As for the coach that started the project, 250's last known spotting was being owned by a private company in Fremont, Nebraska, where it's apparently getting cosmetic work, although I haven't been able to find much information on this. So Southern Pacific's police cars were interesting to say the least. While short-lived and definitely bizarre, they were an interesting experiment on dealing with criminal activity on the railroads. Although, it's a shame that criminal activity on railroads isn't getting better though. Regardless, the police rolling stock is somehow still around, albeit in small capacities. But at least it serves as a quirky bit of railroad history when officers rode out on the high iron.